Yo, what's happening, world? My name's Raheem Flowers. Man, on my spare time, I go on an app known as Top Buzz. And, I've been seeing a lot of feeds outside of what happened to Kobe and his daughter dying. Kobe Bryant and his daughter dying in a helicopter crash and there being no survivors and them being included. Whew. Which I'm sure Chronicles of Judah, I know Chronicles of Judah would have a lot to say about that. But that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm actually here to talk about something that goes on in Holocaust Hollywood. And that is a lot of childhood stars being traumatized and developing these mental health issues. One being known, somebody who displays a lot of antics. His name is Orlando Brown. Many know the brother from That So Raven. And in contemporary times, you would know him for that whole boom thing that you all seen on Vlad TV when he was describing his intercourse and his sexual relations with Raven Simone. Now, another accusation has surfaced, and that being that Nick Cannon was involved in giving him oral sex. And Nick Cannon said, never denied it. The crazy thing is, when I was reading up on the story and I read up on multiple articles, he never denied doing it. All he said was that Nick Cannon needs help. And the most he said was he didn't know him personally. You don't have to know somebody personally to engage in intercourse. To be honest with you, when a lot of people hook up, they don't know each other personally. When dudes hook up with females, vice versa, they don't know them personally. They just know them by face, they meet up, they perform their transaction, and boom. So Nick Cannon saying that he doesn't know him personally doesn't negate the fact that he actually partook in that. In addition, Nick Cannon has been immersed in that type of atmosphere himself since he was young. So it's not far-fetched to say that he actually did it. And Raven Simone I don't recall Raven Simone ever saying that she didn't do anything either. So they got dirt. It's similar to like when Cat Williams called out Jamie Foxx for being on some bisexual, pansexual stuff. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of these people who are encircled in Hollyweird, and the industry, music industry, acting industry, all these other industries, all have been partaking in these nasty orgies and pansexual acts and just, having sex with each other. All that sick stuff. And you know what's funny? When I was reading on Nick Cannon and he was responded, he also said how we need to not even feed, I'm just paraphrasing the man. We need not to feed into these media outlets and these tools for white supremacy. But hold on, Nick. You've been on all these business ventures, you've been on all these platforms, and knowing full well that white people own it. Knowing full well that these were not black businesses. And I'll give him credit for this. He did walk out. He walked out on, I think it was America's Got Talent. But you know something that you still immerse yourself on? Vlad TV. That same white Jew who goes around exploiting black people. And you've been on there multiple times. You are a guest. You are not that far from Lord Jamar and Godfrey status on Vlad TV. So come on, dude. Are you really fooling somebody by saying all that stuff about white supremacy? See, he ain't gonna ever touch on that topic with the Jews. As a matter of fact, Nick Cannon, you've been known for being on things like BET, but you're not going to talk about the likes of Shamir Rothstein. You're not. The guy who owns Viacom. You're not going to talk about that stuff. But you will, have that same old woke talking point. See, he delved into the realm of wokeism. So now he's just being really Afrocentric and about black business. And I'm not saying that Nick Cannon doesn't care for his people and he's not doing things that are exclusively for black people and black business nowadays, but let's not act like you didn't immerse yourself in that atmosphere in the first place. And the thing is, a lot of black people and a lot of pro-blacks like Nick Cannon, the funny thing is, I remember when he was on Vlad TV and he said something about if he had a woman, he would have no problem taking care of her. Like, they would never have to work a day in their life. I mean, I have my opinions, and I'm slightly on the fence with that because I think a part of it has to do with woman worshiping to a degree. A part of it, I mean, in the context that Nick Cannon was saying it in, yeah. And Nick has very simpish ways about himself. So, yeah, I had to think about that. And I also thought about how a lot of brothers out here are idly worshiping a lot of these sisters on some mother goddess stuff. And, Janelle Monáe is one of them. I've seen so many brothers out here talk about how, Janelle Monáe is, that's the black goddess and that's the queen. And, they praise her because of how she speaks out. But she don't speak out for you Negro. She speaks out for what is called the LGBT, LGBZ, DBZ, the homosexual community. And she is a self-proclaimed pansexual. And now she considers herself non-binary, all these, man, it's just a bunch of confusion. It's just like somebody who claims that they're a demisexual, and are you trying to narrow down all these things? Like, look, the Creator made things very simple. All creatures mate, and it's a circle of life. We mate, create children create children. Well, as far as humans go, we try to build careers for ourselves within our family, be the best individuals that we can be, and we try to perpetuate that cycle. But no, humans got to be so damn difficult, and people in the black community, and unfortunately, and especially black women, are being extra difficult. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of women do enable chaotic, they enable chaos or are encouraging chaos. Why do you think you hear a lot of women say that they need excitement in their life? See, excitement can mean anything because that term and the way that it's used contextually is very vague. But if you go off the behavioral pattern of many of these women out here, you start to notice that excitement is equivocal to chaos. Who do you see in the so-called black community support a lot of these do-nothing thug-ass niggas? Who will you see doing it? A lot of these sisters and a lot of these single mothers at that. Even though I've stated this before, a lot of it is really just parallel to the whole Kali Ma, and the Thugas, which were a bunch of bandits who praised Kali. And that's what a lot of these dudes who are thugs do. Even though they are committing all these domestic terroristic acts towards people in the community, they're always gonna make sure that they praise their mama. And even the bad decisions that she made that led these young brothers to be in these type of atmospheres and environments of being on that gang BS. Yup. And as far as homosexuality goes, even from OGs that I've talked to, whether it be Brother Kel, Big B Kel, or if I talk to my man Ted, if I talk to any OG, or even people that I know in my family, I can guarantee you they'll tell me that's not something that they seen growing up, which was homosexuality in the so-called black community. But nowadays, you see that get enabled. And who is it primarily enabled by? Primarily. You see, enabled by sisters. By just women, but we're referring to black women right now. Look, I'm not here to argue and say whether homosexuality is a choice or it's right or wrong, but it certainly is unnatural. It is. Just because something exists within nature doesn't mean it's natural. That's why they have things like mutations. That's why people who have Down syndrome exist. That's why there are people who are born blind or born handicapped. Even if we wanted to make the argument, the silly argument of people being born homosexual. Nobody's born. That's like someone claiming that they're born atheist. That's asinine. You have a clean slate when you're born. You know nothing about sexuality and the attraction. Those are things that develop / manifest over time. And as far as homosexuality goes, I think that, like, personally, I would say I believe that as environmentally based, that's based on personal experiences. You know what I'm saying? I remember even hearing Tommy, he was saying some goofy crap like that one time when he was having a one-on-one with the sister. He said, look, I'm not saying that I believe that every gay person has been molested. I really do believe that some of them have been born like that. I'm like, dude. I mean, there's a lot of suspect stuff with that brother too, man. Looking at it retrospectively. Like, I was just so focused on the message that man made when he talked about the black community and the ills of black women and single mothers back in the day that I didn't really pay it no mind like that. Certain effeminate ways about himself. But anywho, even a brother like Tommy, even by his own admission, is a byproduct of growing up in single motherhood. Even by his own admission. I'm not just trying to propagate no notion. These are things that he will flat out say himself on his lives and on his one-on-ones and whatnot. And this is coming from a dude who used to watch this dude like proactively, but them days are long gone. Like 4 years now. Anywho, like, I look at that being an example, and even going back to Orlando Brown, I look at this, check it. I saw a video where Orlando Brown had a dispute with his mother. Now, chances are Orlando Brown didn't have any male figure or his father in his life, and just the way he behaves, it is a little effeminate, but like I said, going back to the, being the lovers of chaos, being the agents and the promoters of chaos. Like a lot of these women and especially a lot of these sisters are like the equivalents of Don King when it comes to chaos and the things that we see in the world. For real. I don't like it and I don't dig it. So seeing a lot of these women who are part of Black Lives Matter being funded by a Jewish man like George Soros, and seeing, you will see a lot of these sisters on the front lines of these movements, or being a part of having this massive growth in the alphabet mafia community or the LGBT. You will see a massive growth being orchestrated by a lot of sisters. Like outside of a homosexual dude or a lesbian woman, who are you gonna see in there? You're gonna see a female who's probably would proclaim to be sexually fluid, i.e. pansexual. Yo, man, and that's what you see. So, that is what I say, man. If the black woman is God, then she is Kali, the goddess of destruction, time. But yeah, that's where I'm at, and that's my overall thought process. Don't think I have too much to say on this subject. Now, peace out, Happy New Year's, and I got a lot of things coming along the way, man. Let's see how we fare in Black History Month in 2020.